Welcome to Window Shop with Car and Driver. This is the weekly show where Car and Driver editors, contributors, and friends of the magazine get together to look at cars online. And this week's challenge, because we presented our 10 best list last week, our 10 best vehicles for 2021 were presented last week. So we decided to take a look back. 10 Best started in 1983, and we took a look back to see what our favorite car would be. We didn't really put a price cap on it, but we just gave ourselves the freedom to pick our favorite 10 best car of all time. This week, we're joined by our contributor, John Burley Huffman, Chubba Chetta, former editor-in-chief and now contributor to the magazine, Casey Colwell, and Jonathan Ramsey are the regulars. And we'll kick it off to you, Chubba. Let's see what you selected this week.
Well, thanks, Tony. As someone who was around for the original 10 Best back in '83, I just remember strongly that we always had a value component to it. I mean, that's why there's always been a price cap on 10 Best, and it wasn't supposed to be an unobtainium list. And I took that approach in picking my favorite car, and in fact tried to find high value examples of these cars. Question was which one? And one of the things that I hang up on is I remember those days. I remember how good those 10 best cars were back in the 80s, but you know, the 80s are gone, and a great car in the 80s ain't so good anymore. So when I started going over the list of cars that had been on the 10 best list over the years, I ended up with a bunch of possibilities that basically came after the turn of the millennium. And my first one was a Ford Mustang GT, or possibly Boss 302. And this would have been years 11 to 15 once the Coyote engine was introduced, because I think it's the best American V8 ever built. I just love the subjective sounds and feel of that engine, and a Mustang with that in it would be pretty good. So I looked at that. Then, of course, I looked at E46 M3s. I mean, those, again, high winding engine, you know, one of the best engines ever put in a production car. And they're affordable at this point, and they were great cars to drive. I looked at a Honda S2000 for, again, I seem to have this penchant for high revving engines, and all three of these have already had that. But ultimately, I'm not a convertible guy. I did look at a 944 turbo, but those things are pretty expensive from what I found. And
I also, for sure. They got expensive, yeah.
Well, and another limitation I put on these was no more than 100,000 miles on the car. And, you know, you find some of these 944 turbos with 30,000 miles on them. They want 50,000 bucks for them. And I mean, maybe that's a great collectible, but for 50,000 bucks, you know, that's a car that can't break 5 seconds, 0 to 60. So,
right.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, that's what you get from the 80s.
Yeah, and, it's like a 6 second car was plenty fast back then. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was faster than most.
Right.
And then I looked at a Golf R, which is a great all-around car, but they're relatively new. But anyways, and
so what did you find? What did you pick finally?
What I finally picked was a C6 Corvette. And let me show you the car I picked. This is a 2005. That's a first year C6 Corvette. Has only 42,000 miles on it, 19,500 bucks. You know, very affordable kind of car. It's a Z51. It's in a lovely color. It has some useful upgrades like headers, Borla exhaust, cold air intake, an aftermarket stereo.
And scroll through the pictures. Let's see the pictures.
Okay, so just talking. You want to go full screen on these?
Sure, if you can. Yeah, if you can make it bigger.
Okay.
So you like that color? You like that bronze color?
I kind of do. I mean, I don't like gold, but I like this color. And, you know, it's a Corvette. These aren't subtle cars, and I don't think it should be in subtle colors. So
tires did he put on there?
I mean,
Coopers?
Pardon?
Nothing. I was examining the tires that they put on.
Because we had to obsess over some small detail.
Well, it speaks to the
owner.
Yeah.
Well, I just like the fact that he doesn't have any photo in which the complete car is in the photo.
Well, no, he does.
He has one.
Oh, he put it in aftermarket.
Well, there it is.
He put it in.
No, that nose is cut off. No, there it is.
Nose is cut off.
Well, you know, and at 19,500 bucks, I imagine that if you examine this thing up close, it would not be perfect. But again, you know, you look at the performance of this car. This is a 175, 180 mile per hour car for $20,000.
Yeah.
And with 42,000 miles on it, it surely has plenty of life left in it. And in the end, it's a Chevy. It's, you look at M3s and the like, and they're great cars, but of course, they had bearing problems and this and that and subframe problems. And all of those things are not inexpensive to fix with those types of cars.
Yeah, everyone I know with an E46 M3 is constantly battling check engine lights. It's just an endless stream of check engine lights.
Well, and
The only thing that scares me a little bit about this car is the fact that it does have aftermarket components on it. I don't know if I'd rather have it, somebody who was not going to be attracted to aftermarket components is more likely, I think, to take care of the car. But that's just my big.
They're all kind of bolt on though, Pearly. They're all kind of. I think you could easily.
I don't think they're terrible. I don't think they're terrible ones. I just think that if you find one that was owned by some 75-year-old guy who passes off. And
But he would have bought the automatic. Pearly. Like
maybe not.
When I did the search, manual transmission was one of my criterion. And, this guy has recent ceramically coated paint and he has weather tech mats.
Yeah, I'm surprised you would be interested in a car from somebody who would misspell weather tech.
Well,
Chubba likes the deal. The deal outweighed the misspelling.
Well, I do like the deal. The car is also in San Antonio, relatively centrally located, so you could pick it up from anywhere in the country. I did see one, God, what was it? It was, I think, a really nice M3, but it was in Hawaii. And, it seems like car values are pretty low in Hawaii because the market's pretty small.
Right, you can't really move them anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, add $5,000 to the price for shipping back to the mainland or whatever. But anyways, this is a car that I think any enthusiast would love to drive. I'd be happy to drive this car, and for $20,000, it's a fantastic piece, and I'll go with it.
It's good. He painted the wheels black too.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
The wheels being black.
you couldn't get black wheels back then as a factory option, could you?
I don't think so. I don't
Pretty
think
popular
so.
that people do it when they start to when the finish starts to flake off and or they curb the crap out of them or something.
Oh right, yeah. They just
It-
plastic coat them or.
Yeah.
It could be, but of course, this is a private party. But the guy says this car is absolutely beautiful. The paint is 99% flawless. Now, who knows what but there's an awful lot of these things where the guy says, look, it was my daily driver and it's not perfect. I mean, I looked at another C6 at a good price. It was originally black and the guy had painted it white, but he says he didn't bother doing the door jams or anything. So they're a lot of these guys are semi-honest. And when a guy says this, I suspect this is probably a pretty good looking car in person.
How quick were these? Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
42,000
Jonathan.
miles. Oh, sorry, Tony. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Jonathan.
I was gonna say 42,000 miles in 15 years. Like that's someone that's just has left this. They've got almost the best brand name aftermarket stuff, and then only drove it occasionally. So, in spite of the fact that they shoot photos vertically, you can probably trust them to
Yeah, between the photos and the misspellings, he seems like an okay guy.
that takes $5,000 off. So
Yeah, how quick were these? These are like 4 to 60 for the manual, somewhere around there.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, because this is sort of the C6.1 with the 6-liter V8. And about 3 years later, it went up to the 6.2, picked up a bunch of horsepower. And I think that's when they started claiming 4 flat to 0 to 60. So this is a bit slower than that. But, I like the symmetry of a pure 6-liter. The 6.2 has always been some odd displacement that I don't like anyway. So.
It doesn't jive with your engineer mind.
That's
That
right.
is
Yeah, I like to see
fantastic.
4-liter, 5-liter, 6-liter. I like to see even numbers.
So we're saying that this is basically your perfect anal retentive Corvette.
Exactly.
All right, thank you, Chubba. I like your pick.
Thank you.
Well considered. All right, Pearly, you want to go next?
Yeah. Now, unlike Chubba, I think the 80s still live on. This is a 1984. This is 50 miles away from me. This is in Thousand Oaks. It's only got 19,116 miles on it. It's a normally aspirated 944. And the 944 turbos are at least twice as much money. and most of them aren't going to have this few miles on it. But Don Sherman in '86 said that most people actually preferred the normally aspirated car over the turbo car.
Naturally,
Everything except straight line performance. And I just think this is
Pearly. It's not normal. It's naturally. There's nothing abnormal about turbocharging.
What the hell is it with you, Tony?
I was thinking the exact same thing. Tony just opened his mouth.
Tony remembers very carefully. That was in the style book in the 80s.
It is.
Oh yeah, it has to be.
It still is.
Normally it's a subjective term.
It's relative.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's
Normally.
Some people
Okay,
might think
naturally
different.
aspirated. I don't know why I said normally. God knows. I've only been writing about cars for 30 years.
You have a lot of bad habits. What? How much horsepower? These are like 146, 148 horsepower.
I don't remember. I'll tell you the truth. I found this like 2 minutes before we went on. I thought, oh, I'm just going to switch this from the 944 turbo I had found.
Oh yeah. So I was going to say, what attracts you to this car?
Really low mileage, really easygoing car, close by. I've always wanted the 944 because they don't make anything like it. I mean, for exactly the reason why Chubba says he wants something contemporary. I want something old. I want something that gives you an experience that you don't get from a car today. These cars only weigh like 2,800 pounds. They're completely direct and analog. They handle great. They're relatively reliable. They're relatively usable, and they're incredibly tiny. I mean, you get up next to a 944 today, and you realize that they're just so small compared to what you would end up with coming from anybody today. It's a completely unique experience relative to anything new.
Yeah, the values are climbing too, Pearly.
They are. The 944 turbos are really expensive right now. The 944 turbo I found, if you want me to show it to you.
I don't.
Oh, okay, I'll do that.
Was that an
this
equalizer?
this one was $48,000.
Whoa.
Wow.
No miles though. It's a
Yeah, very low miles. This is this is a turbo, but it's 40. So I'm going like, I think I'd rather spend less money because it's not going to be a daily driver anyhow.
Why not?
Because I don't want to use up the car. It's almost a 35. It's a 36-year-old car. 35. They're almost 37 years old. It's going to be something. It's going to be a plaything.
Yeah, I think the 85s or 84 and a half had the newer interior.
I actually think it may have been 86, but
this one has the 924 interior.
Yeah, well, remember for a while they made the 944 with the 924 interior, and the 944 turbo had the turbo interior. They were there was a model change in 84 and a half or 85 or 85. Yeah, I don't know exactly when that happened, but it's still it's not. Porsche doesn't build anything like this. They're never going to build anything like this again. That's what I wanted. They
don't build a lot of. They don't build a lot of.
This is going to come out on Friday. This is going to come out on Friday, and Porsche is going to announce a new 944.
Trust me,
John. You mentioned it was 2,800 pounds. I think it was like 2,850, but it was 143 horsepower. That's it.
Yeah.
And, in its day, that was a goodly amount, but I think this was a 7.5 second 0 to 60 car.
and
at the time that was pretty wonderful.
Yeah.
Again, 7.5 seconds 0 to 60. So it could outdrag a Prius today, but not much else.
That's true. But at the same point in time, it doesn't drive like a Prius, and everything else does drive like a Prius. So
I think that angle, it looks like a Mitsubishi, was that Conquest or Starion?
Really, Jonathan, you want to go there?
I mean,
you want to go there, Jonathan?
Does it not? Am I lying?
The Starion looks like the
Conquest.
924, 944.
Yes, yes.
I mean, look at the roof line. Look at how that goes back into that glass. I mean, that's pretty wicked cool.
It is cool.
I'm not a big fan of that giant spoiler, but that's what they came with. And
it's funny that you mentioned how small it is because, in fact, it was a 924 with big fender blisters on it.
Yeah.
I mean, fundamentally, that was the body difference. So if you think this is small, stand next to a 924 and it's like 2 inches, 3 inches narrower than this car.
Oh, the 924 is positively dinky, but this is still, this is like, this is a car that's really smaller than a Civic or a Prius.
Yeah, I like your choice. I would worry about maintenance costs because you're paying Porsche prices, even though it's a 4-cylinder, even though it only has 143 horsepower, you're still paying Porsche prices.
Yeah, but again, I don't, I can't think of, when you get to cars that are 37 years old, I start thinking that they're not going to be daily drivers.
Okay, fair enough. But you're still
And
gonna
this is, and I'm not thrilled with the color of this carpeting, which is odd. And but I think some of that might just be sun fade.
I think
but
it's an original. It's got a blue plate. I think it's an original California car.
Yeah,
right?
it's got a blue plate. It's one owner. It's in Thousand Oaks, and it doesn't have an equalizer, so Jonathan can't own it.
Yeah.
It's in Monterey though.
I'll just
That
borrow
is
it.
Monterey.
No, it's in Thousand Oaks.
They've already dropped the price, Curly, so
It's
they're
a-
willing to deal.
It's a punk Monterey.
It's a thousand.
I-
It's a,
I
no, it's
can't
a Thousand Oaks.
No, I know. It's a Blaupunkt Monterey. Is the
Oh, Monterey. Oh, what do I know about stereos? I care about cars.
You can
I
know
don't
about
remember
both.
if it was the early 944 or the later one with the revised interior, but they had a hidden trip odometer reset. And I remember getting into one, trying to reset the trip odometer, and I couldn't find it. And it was actually in one of the vent registers, the little kind of thingy that you grab to move it around and direct the vents. If you press that, that was the trip odometer reset.
Pearly,
That
go
was
to
the
the
plunger?
God's earth where you're going to find that if you didn't read it.
Hey, Pearly, will you go to the 944, the turbos interior? Let's see what Chubb is talking about.
Yeah.
That sounds like the most German thing ever.
Oh yeah, but of
Yeah,
course
that's-
you would.
Yeah, I
That's
think
it's
if you
a
look at
significantly
that,
better interior. I don't want to diminish that. That's a much better interior.
if you look
Go
at
to
the
those
vent
vents, the vent
register,
pictures at the bottom.
yeah, look at the vent register to the right of the instrument cluster that you're seeing through the top half of the wheel. Yeah, exactly. Where you pointed that arrow, I believe that's the trip odometer reset. You just press that.
Hold on, Pearly, go back. Go back. There's a better picture of that center vent. Go down. See the center vent shot? There's a center vent shot.
Right here.
That's perfect. That's it.
Up to right one.
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah, that.
I think it's that one.
That's pretty cool.
Where
Wow.
else can you get this stuff?
That's fantastic.
All right, thanks, Pearly. That's awesome,
Okay.
Chubba.
Ooh, a
Oh,
Washington.
that's the Blaupunkt Washington.
How do you guys know these?
It's just, they're not, you can know about cars and know about old Blaupunkts too.
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Not mutually exclusive. All right, Casey, let's see did you finally decide on something, Casey? I know you're down to the wire.
I did, and I am down to the wire, and I'm going with.
Are you in a cave there, Casey, or what? It's kind of dim.
He's in his office.
Jim, I'm in the good office. I kick my wife out when we record. We got
think
two
he's
offices. We got a
incarcerated.
good office and a bad office. Normally, I'm in the bad office. Would you? Oh, you need some money.
He's
My
got that.
lady.
You see the light? He's got a little ring light in his glasses that reflects off his glasses.
Is that better?
That looks
that's much
a
better.
little too. All right. That's like Blair Witch to me.
Do we need a flare?
Yeah.
Can we get an art director? Can we get an art director in here?
Anyway, okay. So I also like Chubba have a thing for high revving engines, and unfortunately, there was not the best year of S2000 was not a 10 best winning year. So I went with an E90 M3 coupe, and these cars are, I mean, it's like an 300 RPM V8, 4-liter V8 Chubba, nice and even.
Yes.
And when these came out, it was kind of the cat's pajamas.
Yeah, they're special.
These were really great cars. And this particular one, I like for a couple of reasons. One, it's a no sunroof car, so the roof panels carbon fiber, it's exposed, and I like the white with the contrast. And
Was our long termer white or was it gray? I can't remember.
it's like gray, and we had a dual clutch car too. This
Right.
is
It's a
not a
manual.
dual clutch. This is a manual.
Cool.
But our long term, it's the cloth and leather seat, cloth and leather interior, which I quite like.
Why do you like that? It just doesn't get as hot and as cold.
Yeah, well, you get this. A heated cloth seat is a lovely thing.
That's true.
Because leather seems to kind of hold the cold a little longer than cloth, and and also like German seat heaters just get really hot, and especially when they're cloth. I mean, it gets hot. It's nice.
It can really be scalding if you're wearing cat's pajamas.
Could be.
We'll edit that out.
Yeah.
Oh
thanks.
God, please.
But this is a kind of low mileage example, which is so it's like 36,000 miles.
Oh, it's got the variable heat, the tachometer that doesn't give you full red line until the car's warmed up.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that was like, I mean, I think we've talked about this before, but it was like the designer. The designer had something to do with the engine red line, and the engineers were like, no, we can't. Right? Isn't this a story, Tony?
It's also, so I heard that story where the designers got one number and the engineers got another, but then I heard another story that it shares its tachometer with the V10 M5. And that's
that could be.
That's why they have the same red line. That's why its red line isn't accurate.
Well,
Gotcha.
the engine is fundamentally a V8 version of the V10 M5. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same bore and the same motor, basically, with 2 cylinders lopped off.
How reliable are these things? I mean, I get the feeling that the V10 is kind of notoriously terrible.
I think they like to be maintained.
Yeah, they like to be maintained. I mean, you got to get one that's been maintained. I think is probably.
And then you're going to continue to spend maintaining it.
And they
Yeah.
use a special, I think it's a 15 or 1060 weight oil that
Yeah.
you can get.
That's
But
exactly what I was going to ask. It was a 1060 weight oil, and it was a Shell oil that was not even distributed in the United States. You could only get it from the BMW store. And, if you went to the Shell website in the US, it didn't even have the oil. So
Yeah.
it's improved. That's improved, Chubba. You can get it. Castrol sells a 1060, and I think a few others sell 1060 now.
But does it meet the BMW LL umpteen zero?
Right.
No, this is definitely a long life. This is long life 01 for sure.
Okay.
Are those? I assume those are all synthetic oils.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The most highly refined $25 a quart dinosaur oils you can get.
What?
The one thing I was going to say is I've never driven one of these
You haven't?
How?
because I'm
You've
a
been
freelancer.
writing
I don't
about
get
cars
invited
for
to the fun
30
things.
years.
I completely missed this generation.
It's
The-
spectacular, Curly. You missed the greatest. It's a great.
I know.
It really is, and I also love inline sixes, but this V8 is pretty special.
Every time I hear one of these things go by, I'm still thrilled by them. They just sound fantastic.
And they just
Yeah.
keep revving. It sounds almost like, it sounds like a V8, except, instead of redlining at $6,000 or 6,500, it goes all the way to 8. It's
Sounds like an Indy
Yeah.
car.
Our friend
one-
John just bought one, and loves it.
Who did?
Well, John Yanka
Okay.
Oh,
just
yeah.
bought one, and he he's a big E90 guy, kind of like I am, and I know he got it, and then he had an oil analysis done, and the guy he bought it from was not lying about how well he maintained it. Was kind of the conclusion that
One peculiarity of this car, and I'm not saying it's a problem, but it's got this high revving engine and makes the power at high RPM. So it's geared really short. It's geared like a motorcycle. I think it's like 21, 22 miles an hour per 1,000 RPM in top gear, because that's what you need in order to be able to get up to the revs where it's really making thrust. So as a highway cruiser, it's not the best fuel economy, but that's not what you're buying it for.
Would this
No.
be better? Would this be better? To
no,
buy
it's not. It's
SMG?
not a Corvette with a 0.50 overdrive.
Yeah, exactly.
Would this be better to buy as an SMG and convert back, reverse engineer into a manual and save
I don't
money?
think you can.
But this
Well,
one
these were-
wasn't SMG, Pearly.
Yeah.
This one was DCT. This one was
These-
a dual clutch. This generation.
Oh, these are DC. They're not the
Yeah.
SMGs. Okay.
They never
Yeah.
messed with SMG in this car. Yeah.
And wasn't this a 7-speed?
With the dual clutch, I believe.
Dual clutch,
so.
yeah.
Yeah. And there was no 7-speed manual, but yeah, the other ones, the E46s, isn't that apparently, you buy an SMG car at a big discount and you can convert it back
Yeah.
and end up with
Yeah,
a
exactly.
pocket.
That's exactly it.
That's the
Right.
point I was trying to bring up. Of course,
And then
doesn't
still
apply to
have
this
it.
car.
All right. Thanks,
Yeah.
Casey.
Yeah, I just that whole that's just a lovely thing to look
Yeah,
at.
yeah.
There's way too many numbers on that Speedo though. That's like insects. On the
Goes
screen.
too high.
You know, as an aside, is this year 2021 the first year that there isn't a BMW on the top 10 on the 10 best list?
No,
no.
I think we've missed a few years in the past 5 years, but I can't remember specifically which years. We had the M2 and M235 on,
Yeah.
and then the M240. Did the M240 make it on? I can't remember.
Can't remember if it did either.
But yeah, Pearly. I mean, there isn't one on the list this year.
I think it's telling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another car, not that I want to completely derail it, but I also thought about an E39 540.
Oh,
But I went with the more special engine.
540 manual though, that could have been
Well,
even
of course.
more
Yeah.
specialized.
Yeah, but not as special of an engine though.
Yeah.
all right. Jonathan, you, sir, are up. What have you found? What's your
So
favorite 10 best car?
After nixing my AMC Alliance,
The
from
Renault Alliance? You have a Renault Alliance?
Hey, I found one, but it was going to be that or an M3 because I think you can't overstate the M3's effect on the market entirely. But instead, I went with
You cut this out, but I thought for sure the words coming out of your mouth was you can't underestimate the effect of the M3 on the ladies.
well,
I
if
thought
you
for
cut it
sure
out,
ladies.
I'll use it, which is though also true. He makes a
Also
very
true for this,
good
yes.
point. You cannot underestimate an M3 effect on the ladies. I went with the C5 Corvette, even though it does not obey Chuba's Fibonacci sequences and even motor output.
Yeah, it's a 5.7, right?
Yeah, 5.7. But I chose this for one reason, which is that every other car on the 10 best list that I saw has someone else has said, I want to compete with that car. No one, to my knowledge, has ever said they want to compete with the Corvette. It was always the Corvette wanted to compete with the 911, but no one has said, I want to make a Corvette fighter. And this is a car that has been, 21 times on the 10 best list and is still disrespected. I mean,
Well, I mean, the one you've selected, you kind of have
With
to
that automatic transmission? Is that an automatic?
You know,
that,
manual, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
I think it is.
yeah, it's a manual.
Oh, it's a manual. Just making
Oh,
sure.
no, okay.
Well, I
You-
mean, disrespect comes from this appearance package that we're looking at.
Oh, come on. I mean, you have a car that wins, that beat the, what do we do? That beat the 911 the first year it came out and could also, what is it? Beat that
Oh, next year.
and could do this. I mean, yeah, not many cars.
This
can-
might be the only pace car year that a 10 best was a pace car. I can't think of any other 10 best cars that might have been a pace car.
the Corvette was the pace car a bunch of times, so
Right.
Yeah. I think 5.7, 345, and so many new things with the C5. And this was the generation. I chose this generation because I think it began you had the reintroduction, like the series production models of Z06, C6 was ZR1 and Grand Sport. I think this is the one that really kicked it off. And despite the yellow interior, and only 9,656 miles.
No,
I
it's a
mean,
new car. It's a
yeah,
brand new car.
basically nobody would want to be seen in it.
Yeah, that cross member looks like it's brand new.
Yeah, I don't think this car's probably ever been driven in rain or anything, Casey. What part of the country is it in, Jonathan? In Charlotte?
Yeah, Charlotte.
Like Charlotte.
It's just so ugly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yellow wheels really only work on a Subaru rally car.
Yeah,
I think, Casey, you might have a point. I don't think you can underestimate the effect on the women of this in North Carolina.
Completely different effect. Completely
in
different
North
effect.
Carolina. I think it's a Charlotte specific phenomenon, but
I think the type of women the type of women who would get their head turned by this would drop their small dogs.
That's I'm all for that. Whatever's involved in that. The guys
it's just
useful. What does it say? Some very tasteful upgrades, such as a head-turning rear tonneau cover, yellow and black leather wrapped steering wheel. Ugh.
leather wrapped roll bar.
Yeah, was the steering wheel really yellow? From the fact, like it was that?
I don't think so. I think that
He customized it.
I mean, I feel like that's something. I mean, this has to be in John Heinrichs era of development, and I don't know if Heinrichs would have let a.
Yeah, but I think they probably just let design run with the pace car, and then he just turned his head the other way and worked on the Z06.
If you take a look at the C5s, the C5s are. If you talk to the guys who run like ultimate streetcar competitions, they'll tell you the easiest car to start with if you don't want to spend a lot of money is something like a C5.
Yeah,
because they're incredibly cheap and they're incredibly easy to modify.
Yeah, the chassis is terrific, and
yeah, and I don't know. I wouldn't start with this one. I would start with ideally a coupe or a hardtop, but these are fundamentally very good cars for playing.
And GM,
yeah, like here's a more normal looking one. I think it's I think it's still a good looking car except for the Rubbermaid interior. And
oh yeah,
it's I'm not a fan of the beluga gray interior, but it's
duct tape gray.
Better.
Easy to fix.
Yeah, the convertibles, I think GM developed the convertible to be a convertible, and its rigidity was on par with the open roof one, with the Targa.
Yeah.
One of the things I like about these cars though too is it's the last Corvette with pop-up headlights.
Oh, that's true, Pearly. Yeah.
And I love pop-up headlights.
And again, 19 grand. This one has 13,000 miles, $20,000. It'll last you forever. It if you take care of it, it's cheap to fix, cheap to maintain. It's I think 5.1 seconds, 0 to 60 was the 10 best car. So that also does not meet Chubba's requirements. I apologize, but with a cold air intake, I think you could take it 10 plus get into.
No, there's no question. I mean, you look at, like you say, these cheap car competitions, and this is the perfect base because the C4 had been in production forever, and with this one, it was an all new car. They really hit new standards of rigidity, and what did it have? 345 horsepower out of a 5.7, and there's parts galore. I mean, you can buy the parts used, to make this thing deliver 500 horsepower for not much money.
And there are literally pieces you could take off a Chevy Silverado to put on this car to make it faster.
The fuel economy almost hasn't changed in 22 years. This is the new rating for the old one, but yeah, I think the Corvette.
Yeah, and the C5s are considerably lighter. They were like 32 and change, weren't they? 3,300 pounds, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, and it's probably aerodynamically better than the new car too.
Yeah.
I think what was the weight?
I was gonna say while you're looking for something, I can tell you a funny story about that that comparison test you pulled up with the 911. Oh, it wasn't that test. Never mind. I won't tell the story. Save it for another time.
Okay.
All right, Jonathan. I don't know how many thumbs up you're going to get for that pace car, but
I like the idea better than the actual car.
Yeah, the actual selection of the car was a little.
I don't know why you hate America during Thanksgiving week, but
I don't think it has anything to do with anything like that.
That's how you want to go out. Okay.
Yeah, that's me. Well, communism has its attractions.
Well, look, if you rolled up with that car, let's think of any of these cars. If you rolled up to the Beverly Hills Hotel in any of these cars, which one would be most likely to be parked out front? I submit it would be Jonathan's car.
Or it would be the first one to be incinerated.
That's right, Casey. That's what he said. That's right.
I don't think Chubba's been to the Beverly Hills Hotel since retirement.
That's not the issue. We have.
Boom. I went
didn't say it'd
M3.
be parked out front. I said most likely to be parked out
Okay.
front.
I don't know. This looks pretty special. E36, E36 M3. I went with the sedan. I like the way the sedan looks. You don't get the special seats. This one's black on black, which I don't love.
It's got the motorsport wheels. It's
Would
got
you rather have the yellow seats, Tony?
I like these seats. So I found this, the Modena Natur interior. Let's see where it is. It's this interior. So they had like a Ferrari tan like interior that they offered. This is for a coupe, but it's the same idea. Here it is they did offer it in the sedan in case anyone was going to question me about that.
Like sitting in a baseball glove.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I don't love this car came out in 95. The 96 to 99s had 3.2 liters, so they had a little more torque. But they also got OBD2. So the 95s are OBD1. And here in California, I have to smog stuff. And the OBD2 cars have way more sensors. So they often throw check engine lights and give their owners fits. Where the 95s, it's just a tailpipe test. And so I prefer a 95. But I love I don't think they offered the sedan in 95. I think it came out in 96.
These are 240 horsepower, right?
Correct. 0 to 60 in 5.5.
I mean, sorry, I want to say that's not only an all black interior, like every black is the same shade. Like that is an amazingly bland black interior.
I agree. That's why I'm going to source the Natur one and swap it in there.
How much does that new interior cost, Tony?
It's like $2,000. 12 years ago when it was available.
Yeah. In other words, you're never going to find that interior, but that's your plan.
12 years ago.
Well, okay, fine. This is what I might buy if I was shopping this week, but I might wait for the right car to come along. But this
Oh,
is
they got Michelin's on it.
It's
How many
got
miles on this thing?
not a lot. 39,000 miles, one owner car.
Oh, they're asking a lot.
How much?
How much?
28.9.
Ooh,
That's a little high.
It's a
that's
little
a little
high.
steep there.
I mean, you can buy an E46 M3 for that.
Yeah, but this is probably going to be more reliable than that.
But of all the M3s, the problem with the E36 is it's the least special.
Oh, I
Yes.
disagree.
Well, the US ones especially, yeah. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
the engine is directly related to the regular 6-cylinder engine. It's still the one that's street oriented. There was no race version unless you get to the competition models.
oh yeah, I mean the car. So is this a 3.2? Is this a 3.2?
This is a 3.2. Yeah, it's a 98.
Yeah, so
no
3.2.
individual throttle bodies. No
Yeah,
individual
exactly.
throttle
Yeah.
bodies.
So
Yeah,
the 3.2 in Europe was 321 horse, I think.
Yeah.
300.
And then the early ones, the 3-liter was 282 to our 240.
Yeah, it just
Basically in Europe, the E36 had the engine that we finally got in the E46.
That's
Yeah.
right. But
but,
that
it
aside,
just
this is
of all the
plenty
M3s, this is the one that does the least for me.
No,
Yeah, I
this is so no. You're wrong. So this is
I
the
am?
car. This car, yeah. This car made me absolutely crazy reading. I mean, basically just reading Car and Driver in the 90s because I didn't understand what made the thing so special because I thought it looked so dumpy, and that bugged me. And then I finally drove one, and I was kind of like, oh, that's what they're talking about.
right.
And
I mean, it was
yeah.
best handling. It won the best handling test in 97 or 98 against a lot of good competition.
oh yeah, like Ferraris and there was I think it was a
NSX,
3.
yeah.
Yeah, it was an NSX. There was a
I think a Supra Turbo might have been in there.
yeah.
Well, unlike the V8, I actually drove this car a lot, and it just leaves me nonplussed.
That's too bad.
One caution I would offer on this car is I think we had a long termer, and in the 40,000 miles we broke 4 wheels, and the tires weren't that low profile by modern standards, but I think at the time it was like a step too far, and the wheels were just not strong enough. And of course, Michigan is full of potholes, but we broke more wheels on that car than any other car that I can recall.
Chubba, we've since broken that record. There was a Jag XE that I think took out 9 wheels.
Wow.
Isn't that
And
right?
was there-
I mean there was a 535 that did a lot of damage to its wheels.
Okay.
And the Jag XE did a lot of damage. Were these wheels on the car? Or was it the
No,
These
it
are
was these.
17s?
It was these, Casey. It was these.
Okay.
It was these.
Because there's a small, because there was a 16, right? That kind of.
No, not on the
cruising-
M3s.
I think it was 17.
The first year had, I think, 235 40 17s, and then the 96
Yeah,
on
yeah.
staggered. They went 225 in front and 245 in back.
Yeah.
I'm
But-
just surprised. I'm just surprised that with the M3s that got chosen, nobody chose an E46.
I worry about reliability. I've just heard so many horror stories. You become a BMW mechanic as soon as you buy that car.
Yeah, but the E46 is such a nice car.
It is. It rides like crap though. They don't ride that
Yeah,
well.
they were really stiff.
Huh.
So Casey, I think these tires might be the original tires. These are Pilot SX MXX3s.
Yeah.
So these
Wow.
tires may be needing a replacement, which I've sourced from the tire rack. You can
Ooh,
get
what's available in this?
You can get 4S's.
Oh, nice.
See,
Yeah, that's a good upgrade.
I mean they're in
Wow.
stock. There's more coming for Christmas, but
Only $200. Nice.
Is this a staggered fitment?
it is a staggered fitment. 96 to 99 were staggered. The 95s were non-staggered.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. That's my car. That's my baby.
And did that original car not have a BMW roundel on the steering wheel? Was the steering wheel really just plain black?
It was
Like-
that horrible lunchbox
Airbag wheel. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
this
they
is
didn't have any.
this
It's
is the
embossed,
one-
isn't it? But it doesn't have any
There's
colors.
Yeah.
no insert no insert in the center for the logo.
No, this is too old. And what they did was there was an earlier BMW wheel that has the same airbag. This has a slightly different design for
Mhm.
the airbag portion, but then they put these Fittipaldi ears into the steering wheel for the M cars.
Fittipaldi ears. I've never heard them called that.
No, I think that's what they're called. Chuba, can you corroborate that?
I can't. I don't.
I think Tony just made that
Somebody
up.
help me. So I think that's what I would buy. And I used to hate that interior. I used to think that interior was really cheap, but I've sort of come around on it.
I love it.
interiors in general age terribly. So
That one doesn't. That one's aged especially bad. And the dash, the center vent would pull away from the instrument panel, and the glove box sags. But
Yeah, and there's a little trim panel above it that falls off. But
this one looked really nice. All right, now
Did the E30 M3 make the 10 best list?
no,
no.
it was.
I think it was
usually too
always-
expensive. It was
Yeah.
too expensive. The cutoff back then was between 30 and 35, and I think those came in just over or right at the limit. And it wasn't. I mean, I don't know. The magazine didn't seem to really love the E30s that much. They were kind of expensive for their day.
Well, they weren't very fast for their day either. I mean,
Well, they also started out with that 2.7 liter ADA engine, that was sort of this low revving fuel economy motor that was most un BMW like.
Yeah.
yeah.
They finally course corrected in 87 though, but I don't know. All right, now this is the part of the show where we judge each other's picks. Chuba, you went first, so C6 Corvette. Give it the thumbs up. Tons
I'm
of
not a fan of the
Sure,
C6.
why not?
I like you, Chubba.
Jonathan, sideways, Jonathan.
I did not like the styling on the C6. Actually,
Now, and
like
this is
Geo
the guy who presented the
The yellow steering wheel.
5.
look.
I think Chuba made a compelling case for value.
I get parked up front. So I know what style is.
I don't want to engage in a styling tiff here, but that giant butt on the C5 is just completely unacceptable. And on the C6, they improved that
Yeah, they
considerably.
chopped it off.
Oh yeah, they chopped it off. They put in a little bit more detailing, so it didn't look like some
They made it concave.
So
ham cut off.
we're anti-American and anti-big butt this week. Is that what we're doing?
There you go.
I know. Just so I know.
Well, I'm not anti-American. I chose a C6. I couldn't be
That's
more.
not, yeah. You get a
But
pass.
Jennifer Lopez is completely,
All right, Chuba, what was your favorite car of all the other choices?
Probably the KC's M3.
All right. Who went next? Pearlie, you were next with the 944.
yeah.
Sideways.
Oh, give me a break.
Have to go.
You get a thumbs up for me. It's a fun. It's
Oh, Chuba, come on.
Wow.
God. I get no respect.
What was your favorite car, Pearlie?
Even though I've never driven it, it's Casey's M3.
Yeah,
That's
you would
car-
not be disappointed. You would love it. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a
You
car
should
I've
try
always
and
wanted.
find one.
It's,
You should.
it's a car that's going like, when do I get to drive this thing? When do I get to drive this thing? And I never did.
That'd be a good story for you to do.
Yeah.
To find it and drive it and write about the experience.
Oh, that'd be a great
Because
follow-up,
it's you know it's a special car in the history of BMW. It's a special car for anybody.
Yeah.
And I'd want to have that car.
Yeah,
Cars
things
I
really
missed.
changed after that car. They went to turbocharging. They didn't do super high revving engines. Yeah, things really changed after that.
BMW, that's just the cusp where they developed that car and like the X5 at the same time, and you just knew that which way they were going to go, and they went to the direction of the X5.
X5 was developed earlier, but I'm not going to.
And I'm just saying, their paths, they diverted right there, right around there. They became an SUV company.
All right, Casey, you went. Oh no, Jonathan. Did Jonathan go next? Go no, Casey. You went next.
I think I did. Yeah.
Thumbs up, 100%.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful one too.
Yeah. It was expensive,
How much?
but
It was 44.
it was 44. But I mean, I think you can find pretty decent ones like 25 to 35. Yeah, it's just a special car.
What was your favorite? The
Oh,
E36.
your E36, 100%. 100%.
E34.
E36. E34 was the 5 Series.
You're right. God, I'm doing
Yeah,
terribly.
yeah,
today.
I mean, if an E34 M5 was on 10 best, that'd be a different story.
Yeah.
Pearly, I
I'm
couldn't.
sucking
Pearly, I'd
wind
never be
today.
able to correct you. Pearly, I'd never be able to correct you on civic designation, civic generation.
It's true.
I don't know those at all.
Yeah.
Jonathan, the pace car C5.
Now, before you vote, do you need to see it again? Do you need to see it again? Anyone? Just to make
No.
sure.
Can we vote yes on the category and no on the individual example?
Yeah, exactly, Pearly, exactly.
I
I think the C5 is a wonderful car and a great value, but that one is just a hideous pile of garbage.
Well, it's not quite a pile of garbage. Just the appearance package is not very pleasing.
I'm going to
Yeah,
give
I
you a
think-
thumbs up only because I feel like that's a car that Ronnie Munn would drive.
Well, I'll give it a thumbs up too, because it's, it's not totally to my taste, but it's highly distinctive, and, it just makes your head spin to see it if you saw that going down the street. So
Thank you.
that's my vote.
All right, Jonathan.
I go with Bill Paxton and Aliens. Nuke it from orbit.
The value is there. The value is there. And the fact that
All right.
Pearly hates it makes me think we're onto something good.
My favorite now. I will see Pearly's not having driven Casey's. My favorite's Casey's. I'm going to go with that. But I've never driven any M3 at all ever.
Oh.
Yeah, and I don't care about not having driven one. I know I need to change that, but I've never driven one. I will still vote Casey's.
No, you got to break that streak.
Yeah.
I've driven for whatever reason, I really like the big M cars. I've only driven the M2, which I didn't like, and I just never, always end up missing M3s. But Casey's is special.
Yeah, the E90 with that V8. I drove that. We had a comparison test in Germany, and we drove them on the Autobahn, and I got to redline 4th gear in that car, and the engine is just screaming as it revs out to past 8 grand in 4th gear. Oh,
One of the cars I really wanted to
changed me
drive was.
forever. It'll change you too, Jonathan.
All right.
Could I have picked an E39 M5? Is that on a 10 best?
Not the M5. I think
Not
it was
the
too
M5,
expensive. You could have gone 546 speed.
Yeah.
All right, and then my incredible
Oh my God.
E36 M3 sedan.
I just don't think it's special enough.
If it's been a coupe, I could have given you more.
We gotta go back and find a bunch of Chubba quotes on this car and put them up on the screen of
Well, he readily admits that its time has passed. That's what it's what you're going to argue, right? Am I putting words in your mouth?
Of course, I mean, like I think John Maynard Keynes said, what's the point of consistency? When the facts change, my opinion changes. What do you do? I mean,
All right.
Whereas Frederick Hayek said,
I think my favorite would have to be definitely KC's. I love the E90.
That is a
I think you
clean
win this
sweep.
week. You had 3 votes.
Well,
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. Thanks for
Does that
joining.
make Casey the winner?
That makes Casey the winner. Yeah, he got the most.
well, I think we do need to have the pace car versus the V8 M3 just to see how we really feel like in person.
I don't think we need that at all.
No, no. We should do this, and we'll videotape it.
Boom.
And yeah,
Well, we'll take him. We'll take him to.
We'll take him-
valet choose.
we'll take him to valet, and then we'll go
There we go.
we'll go to the
and
Hocking
we can run
Hills.
him on as a guest driver.
Yep.
All right. Well, that takes us to the end. Casey's the winner this week. Join us next week. We'll have another challenge and another crew. And if you enjoyed this, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.